I tell people all the time, make believe what they're sending to is written in Chinese. Now, would it help you if every single document that you get from the government, you send it to me, Karl Lentz, and I'll send it back to you in Chinese? So that way you'll know. You have no idea what this has to do with you because you have no idea what's on this paper. That's why they make everybody go to at least the 8th grade, and they will hunt you down. They will hunt the parents down and make sure those children are going to school. So that way you believe that you're trapped in that piece of paper somehow. Somehow that piece of paper with your name on it has some sort of power and effect over you. If you had no idea, like my dad, he used German, he did not know what was written on an American piece of paper in English. He'd look at it and say, this has absolutely nothing to do with me. This does not control me. I'm not trapped here. I'm not bound by this piece of paper. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. But all you people, like I said, it's self-funny, man. Somebody called me up during the week. I don't remember if it was Gus. I don't remember who it was. But somebody said to me, they started reading something to me. I said, you really believe that that's what that says? Yes, then they got you. They got you exactly where they want you. Believing. Did you read the Bible? Well, yeah, then you believe what you're reading. You believe what you're reading there is the Word of God. Yes, good. Then they got you. You have a conviction, right? You have a belief. Yes. You're reading that piece of paper. Yes, you believe you see your name on that paper. Yes, you believe that piece of paper has some sort of power and control over you. Well, did your heart race when you saw it? Well, yes. Did you get stressed out? Yes. Did you start crying and whining? Yes. Did you want to commit suicide and jump off a bridge? Yes. Why? Because that piece of paper had control over you. Why? Because it was written in something called English at this period of time, and 10,000 years from now, nobody's going to know what that silly scribble is, just like we don't know what that silly scribble the Egyptians were doing 3,500 years ago. It's like, what is that scribble? I don't know. But you better believe it used to control millions and millions of people. You better believe when they tacked this up in the village square, people trembled. They tack it up on a village square now, and Pretty says, oh, that's a pretty picture. Yeah, it's hieroglyphics, yeah. Well, at one time that was a death sentence if you didn't abide by what that piece of paper said. Oh, really? That's ridiculous. That paper doesn't say anything. It doesn't have vocal cords. What are you talking about? Well, we believe it has power, control, and authority over us. Oh, really? Why? Because somebody created it. Who created it? A fellow man? Or a sovereign? Or a God? Who created it? My sovereign, my God, or my fellow man? My fellow man created it. That he has no jurisdiction and control or power over me. Not unless I contracted with him. Not unless I voluntarily consented. So show me. Show me where I voluntarily consented. Show me. You can? Oh, what? That's where I did? Oh, I did voluntarily consent. Well, guess what? Now I don't voluntarily consent. Now you have no longer jurisdiction control over me. Thank you. You can't bind your fellow man. You can't create and make a slave. You can't do it. So it's all voluntary. Just like what's the man from the senator from Nevada said? He's the House majority, not the House, the Senate majority leader. He said that all income taxes are voluntary, and he's absolutely right. The government can't force man to do anything. They can't force you to pick up a hand and testify against yourself. They can't do it. It's all voluntary. Harry Reid. That's the man's name. He's absolutely right. And I love that kid on YouTube video who keeps asking Harry Reid over and over. Well, you said IRS taxes are voluntary. Oh, yes, all taxes are voluntary. But if I don't pay my taxes, I go to jail. He says, absolutely. He said, but the kid says, but wait a second, it's all voluntary. How could I go to jail if I don't pay my taxes? Well, you might not go to jail if you don't pay your taxes. Well, you just told me that taxes are voluntary. Absolutely. Well, if I don't pay my taxes, I go to jail. Absolutely. The kid asked them two completely different questions. One had nothing to do with the other. And it's so funny. I tell people all the time, I'm not going to tell you what Harry Reid meant. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. And when you figure out what the kid was asking him and what Harry Reid said, you're going to laugh your ass off. When you finally realize one question has nothing to do with the other question. Absolutely nothing. Totally 180 degrees. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. But you think it does. Because it sounds like it does. Mm-hmm. IRS tax is voluntary. Yes. If I don't pay my taxes, I go to jail. Yes. Well,
why would you say my taxes? Yeah, based on self-assessment and all that horse stuff.
Based on self-assessment. So, who's going to force you to self-testify? Who's going to force you to do it? Nobody.
You don't let them. Yeah.
No. See, no. If you don't let that man or woman How are you going to force? Do you think a man or woman is actually going to stand in court and put a gun to your head and say, "Now testify against yourself"? Have you ever seen that in American history?
Cops do it.
Have you ever seen that in the court? Have you ever seen that in the courtroom in American history? No, it will never happen. So you tell me what I owe, and they can't. They don't have the capacity to know what the hell you made 365, 24/7. They weren't with you. They're not first-hand witnesses. They're not competent to testify what you made last year or not.
That's right.
They have no effing clue. Do I know what I made? You're absolutely crazy. I wouldn't have the slightest idea what I created over the last 365 days, starting from August 28th of last year. I have no effing clue. There's no law that requires a man to keep such a precise accounting of every minute second that he created something in his life or disposed of something. I don't have. There's no law that requires a man to do anything. That's the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard. I'm not a corporation in the sense in which I'm bound by any sort of central government, by some sort of a contract, or by any kind of authority that I've granted to him. It doesn't exist.
Unless you agree to it.
And even if I did agree, now watch, I'm a man, I'm God, I'm a godlike quality. It's just like I say to people, it's the hierarchy. When you no longer want to be a Boy Scout, you can leave the legal Boy Scout society. You don't have to be a Boy Scout. You say, you know what, I no longer wish to be a active member of your society. Goodbye. And they can't force you to stay in. The United States of America government can't force you to stay in and be an active citizen if you don't wish to be.
Right.
Right, but everybody's like, oh, my God, did you just say you're not a U.S. citizen? Let's see, I'm not. Oh, now guess what I am. Oh, now guess what I'm not. Oh, guess what I am. It depends when it's a benefit for me to exercise. If it's a benefit for me to exercise and do jumping jacks right now, I'm going to exercise and do jumping jacks right now. But if this was a combat situation, Viet Cong were coming at me, obviously I should not exercise and jump up and down, or I'm going to attract by my movements. No, I'm going to exercise when I wish to exercise, and I'm not going to exercise when I don't want to exercise. It's up to me. I'll determine what's best for me. Don't tell me when to move and how to move. I'll self-determination. Like I said, that's the greatest thing Barack Obama ever did. And like I say to people all the time, I've never, in my whole entire life, I've read all kinds of political speeches. I've heard all kinds of, famous quotes from Thomas Jefferson and also George Washington. And when I heard Barack Obama say, on a radio, I was like, holy cow, that is the greatest speech, or whoever the speechwriters were, that is the best quote I've ever heard any United States president, senator, judge, Supreme Court ever say. It says, that's not what the founders of this nation envisioned when they gave us the gift of self-government. So Barack Obama said, that is not what the founders of this nation envisioned when they gave us the gift of self-government. See, this is what I'm trying to say. That is the greatest speech I've ever heard, the best line I ever heard a United States president ever admit. Within this nation, within this land, upon this land, man self-governs. Man is not a republic. Man is not part of a democracy. Man self-governs. And that's what I walked into one of the seminars in England. This one must have made me a great, wonderful hit over there. I walked into the seminar, and one of the first things I said was, it's amazing. I walked across the parking lot today, and I saw a bird, and I saw a fly, and I saw a bumblebee, and I saw a moth, and I saw a worm. And you know what? And of course, I said to them, it was amazing to me. They were all self-governing. You know what? It was amazing to me that I all saw them. They had their own purpose in life. They had their own structures, their own beliefs. The bee knew what the bee knows how to do. A bird knows how to make a nest. It doesn't need a government permit. It doesn't need building codes. The bee knows how to create a honey and hive and produce. A worm, a lowly worm, knows how to self-sustain. It doesn't need an act of parliament, and whether or not it should tunnel under the ground, how far, how deep, or how long. I said it's amazing when a worm here in the UK, in England, has more self-determination and can govern itself more accordingly than any Englishman. I said, I'm looking at all you Englishmen in the room. Your worms upon this land know how to govern themselves better than you do. You all are waiting for an act of parliament. You're all waiting for permission to do something, to move from point A to point B with your property. You're all begging. You're all waiting for somebody to grant you, to allow you, to permit you to function. I said, you think it's funny? I said, like I give people that example all the time. I said, if the government, you say yourself, you woke up this morning, Englishman, and you said, I'll have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And you're like, well, no, that makes me jittery and it affects my, blood pressure. You know what? I better not. I already had, a half a cup. Let's do a half a cup this morning instead of 2 cups. Let's do a half a cup. I said, eventually, if you believe that there's a government that controls you, why don't you call up, whatever his name was, Tony Blair, Margaret Thatcher, whoever. They laughed. I didn't know what the prime minister's name was. I said, whatever. I said, Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair. I said, no, that's 20 years ago. I said, yeah, whatever. Whoever the prime minister, why don't you call him up and ask him, hey, should I have a half a cup of coffee today? You know how it affects my blood pressure and I get the jitters. Can I have 2 cups? And he's like, well, I'm your governor, and let me tell you how you're going to govern today. And they all started laughing. I said, oh, but wait a second. Why don't they put a computer chip in your arm? And it determines this chip broadcasts out a signal that you got too much caffeine in your system. And you get a phone call from the government, from a government medical agency, like a Barack Obamacare or whatever medical care you guys get over here in England. And you say, if you do not stop in taking the intake of caffeine, we're going to not allow you to, seek medical benefits. We're going to cut you off for medical benefits. Or we're going to charge you a $500 fine for having your caffeine levels higher than the recommended daily allowance. I said, one day you're going to get that phone call, and they're going to tell you that you have to govern yourself in a more proper manner. Or they're going to assess fine and penalties on you. Or they're going to incarcerate you for your own good. They're going to put you in some sort of holding facility until you get your cholesterol levels down, your blood pressure under control before they let you back out. I said, you think it's funny? You think it's cute? I said, it's funny. You're going to be looking at a bumblebee outside of this window or a fly or a bird, and they're all self-governing, but an Englishman is going to be totally under control of some sort of mommy state. I said, that's exactly where you people are going. I said, and all I'm trying to tell you people is to be able to bring yourself into the public as a man and say to the central government, thank you for your benefits. Thank you for all your consideration. Thank you for providing all these wonderful, benefits on me. But I'm a man. I self-govern. I don't need that at this time. And they're going to mock you, and they're going to say, oh, yes, you need that chip. Oh, yes, you need these vaccines. Oh, yes, you need this public education. You need this. If you don't get it, you're going to have a horrible, miserable life, just like what they said to me when I was a kid. Like, Carl, if you don't stop your nonsense, you're not going to be successful. I was third from the bottom of my class. I had 1,407 kids. I was 1,405. I was at the third from the bottom. And they said, you'll never be anything in life. You better conform. You better start, being a team player and getting on board and doing what we tell you to do. And like I say to people, the problem is now I'm all over the world. There's hundreds of thousands of people that listen to me on YouTube in Malaysia, Croatia, Canada, Australia, India. I'm getting people from all over the world talking to me now. But wait a second. I didn't do what the government recommended that I do. And by me not doing it, I was supposed to be an abject failure. How did it work out this way that I'm not? Because I said, no, I'm going to self-govern. I'm going to do what I believe is the right thing to do. Thank you for your advice. Thank you for providing me this public education. Thank you for providing me all this. But you know what? Some stuff that you're telling me just doesn't hit home. It doesn't jive right. I think you're zooming me. I think you're trying to get one over on me. And I'm glad I took the sniff test, and it don't smell kosher. And I'm going to have to respectfully decline any more of your assistance. And I'm going to do this on my own. But if so many people are willing to not deal with peer pressure, like somebody said that to me, they said, well, Carl, that's because you never drank in your life. You've never been drunk. You've never done drugs. Your brain still functions at 50. You still got full capacity. And I said, yes. And I said, you don't think the government been doing that to us since we were children to get us to drink, to smoke, to do drugs, to be with our friends who drink and smoke and do drugs, because they understand the capacity of the human mind. They understand the capacity, if we have the free expression to develop our capacities to the ultimate limit, that we are incredibly creative creatures or incredibly destructive creatures. So, you know what, maybe we better tone people down, tell them that smoking pot's okay, doing cracks, is cool, doing cocaine is cool, drinking is cool, smoking, whatever, to be one of the crowd. That way they could slow us down. And that's why we said, you know what, it just doesn't make any sense, because when I was a kid growing up in the late 60s and the 70s, I saw people who were on drugs. I was like, wow, that guy's whacked out of his mind. And my dad was explaining that to me as we were walking across a bridge one day. He said to me and my brother, hey, grab that guy's wallet. And we went to go grab it. And my dad said, what are you doing? He said, we're one of the good guys. He said, but you told us to grab his wallet. You told us to, take from him. We were like 9, 10 years old. He's like, no, but we could, right? He's like, well, yeah. He said, well, we're one of the good guys. He said, well, why could we take that man's wallet? Why could we take all his property? And he's like, I was like, because he's drunk. He's like, he's on drugs. My dad said he's drunk. We don't know, but we could steal from him, can't we? We could take everything away from him. That's the same thing the government can do. Mm-hmm. You're drunk. You're sloppy. You're lazy. You're on drugs. They could take everything away from you so much easier than if you were competent and alert and aware and acting like a man. So it's so funny. He said to me, I said, oh, okay, we get it. He says, why don't we just take the guy and throw him over the bridge and watch him, splash in the East River? And me and her brother started to laugh. My dad said, no, I'm just joking. We're never going to do something like that. But 3 bad guys, we could just walk upon a man like him, throw him over the river, and watch him go to splash. And we'd all get a big laugh and keep walking over this, Manhattan Bridge, Williamsburg Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge, whatever bridge we were walking over. He said, we just get a big laugh. I said, oh, okay, I get it. So never let your guard down. That's right. When you're in the public, never let your guard down. Always be aware.
And if you're drunk or stoned or whatever, your guard's automatically going to be down, and you're going to be easy pickings to take advantage of.
It's not only by your fellow man, but by the government.
By the government. Mm-hmm.
Right. While you're busy doing disco or getting drunk or doing cocaine, these bookworms, these word nerds, are staying up morning, noon, and night to learn how to figure out how to take every dime from you. So that they're not going to take it when you're 20, 30, 40 years old. They're going to take it from you when you're 50, 60, 70, 80, after you've amassed accumulated wealth. Then they're going to come after you. Then you were the world's greatest plumber. Great. You're the world's greatest doctor. Wonderful. You're the world's greatest carpenter. Lovely. Did you ever learn how to protect yourself from these word nerds, from this legal society? Did you ever learn how to protect yourself? No. So then how easy is it for them to take it all away from you? Right, it's very easy. Right.
Do you want to take some questions, Karl?
Yeah, I guess so. But that's all I'm trying to say is I'm just trying to get people to understand that all I'm trying to do is get you folks to understand when this legal society is coming after you with legalese, Chinese, Cantonese, they're talking to you for the foreign language, and there is nothing in law that requires a man to understand or be competent in legalese, Chinese, Cantonese. There's nothing that could hold me liable for failing to, answer in a proper manner in a form of legalese. And I don't have to accept a member of their legal society to act on my behalf or my benefit. I just don't wish it at the time, so I don't have to accept it at this time. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm trying to get people to understand, because the legal society has got such a huge hold and such a huge grasp of the common man's beliefs that we have to do what the legal society orders us to do, or it commands us to do. And I'm just laughing at you guys, and I say, stop. I said, it's just like the Boy Scout Society, or the Girl Scout Society, the legal society. It has nothing to do with the society of man. What are you people going on about with your daffy nonsense? Well, the legal society said we have to accept their counsel. Well, the Girl Scouts could stand outside the store and say you have to accept our cookies. But if I believe I have to pay for their cookies and I can't get into the store because these Girl Scouts made a line across the entrance of Walmart and I can't get in until I buy their cookies, well then, you know what? 99, almost 100% of the people entering Walmart is going to buy a box of Girl Scout cookies instead of trying to run through a line of Girl Scouts and saying no. We're not going to put up with this nonsense. This is blackmail, or this is extortion, or this is communicating threats. I'm a man, and I'm going to access this public building. I'm going to walk in, or I'm going to walk out. I'm going to maintain your property. I'm not giving it away to anybody, including the Girl Scouts, including the legal society. I'm not giving it away. I'm going to hold on and maintain it. And there's nothing you can do about it. But like I said, everybody else will start saying, you know what, Karl, why don't you just be an active member? Why don't you just go along with the crowd? Everybody else is donating to the Girl Scouts. It's for a lovely cause. It's like, yeah, great, wonderful. You know what? I just don't want to. I'm not going for the peer pressure baloney. Just like when I was working for ConAgra. It's a huge food processing companies. I think it's based in Australia, but they're all over the world. And I was working the fusion line for them. Just basically they were injecting liquids by a high compression and creating like a heat with them, so it was cooking like almost instantly. But the big thing was we had a big Red Cross meeting. There had thousands of people in this huge hall, and the Red Cross said we're going to take 1% out of everybody's paycheck who worked for ConAgra. I said, you ain't going to touch my property. And I was the only one out of like 1,000 people sitting in that conference saying, what, excuse me, who doesn't want it out? And like everybody's trying to like, oh, Karl, you're so bad, like, oh, you won't give 1% to this lovely organization? It's like, no, I used to work for them out in Vegas. They used to have a place right down on Las Vegas Boulevard. They had the JCs. There was a couple other ones that worked out of this one building, and they used to peddle silver a lot of times too. I said, these people could keep up to 85% of every dime that they collect, every dollar they collect for administrative costs? I said, ask them. And I said that to the guy on the stage. Can you keep 85% of all the money that you take in from us as administrative costs? And most of the people understand had no idea what administrative costs was. I said administrative costs is to pay for that guy, his salary, to pay for his yacht, to pay for his plane, to pay for his house. Can you keep 85% in administrative costs? And he's like, well, yes. And then I said to the people in the crowd, oh, well, you want to know how they did the other, like 10%, like 95% altogether? The people who are in need of an emergency assistance were the telephone solicitors. The telephone solicitors who are calling you, asking you for money, that they would put in a claim for immediate assistance and need for their children to be fed or housed, and the bosses would write them out $1,000 checks depending on how much they were collecting for Red Cross that week. So they were paying their salaries, but these are the women and children or dads that you're actually helping is actually the phone solicitors. Is that not true? And the guy wouldn't say another word. And then like the guy who ran the company says, what are you doing, starting trouble? I said, no, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you what I witnessed. I'm telling you what's going on here. They're taking your money, and 5% of it might go to somebody in need. The other 95% is going straight in their pockets. I said, ask the lady who runs the Red Cross. She's got a helicopter pad on top of her house. I said, this is not the Salvation Army. You want to donate? Donate to the Catholic Church. You want to donate? Donate to the Salvation Army. But the Red Cross, the JCs, the United Way, it's all horseshit.
Even the ASPCA.
But what I'm trying to say, I was that odd duck out of 1,000 people in a crowd to stand up and say, you are not taking my 1%. I could have just said, well, Karl, come on, you could do fine with 99%. Don't be a troublemaker, Karl. Don't be the guy who's got, look, Karl, you just started working here a month or two ago. Don't be the ugly American. Don't be the ugly employee. Just go along with everybody. Just give the United Way your damn 1%. And just shut the hell up. I was making so much money than anybody else. It wasn't even funny anyway. Because I was running the fusion line. Everybody else was basically just a line worker. So I was making 3 times the amount anybody around me was making. I could have definitely afforded 1%, but I said, no, not to these bastards. I said, if you want to give it to the Catholic Church or you want to give it to the Salvation Army, I'm right on board. Not a problem. I'll give 2%. But I ain't giving a freaking dime to these people. They're crooks.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do is I try to show you people that this is a legal society. These are people who just want to spend their whole lives wearing 3-piece suit and ties, have perfect fingernails, perfect hair, drive perfect cars, have perfect homes, look perfect. They intimidate you just by being so freaking perfect. It's all a mask. It's all acting in person. It's all a show. It's all a game. It's all based on fraud. There's nothing there. They're speaking legalese. You don't speak legalese. Don't accept their wonderful legalese counselors. Don't. It's not. You don't. It's not. There's no requirement of man to, accept that wonderful, lovely gift.